yesterday. They're going to go get their Letterman jackets again. The Indianapolis Colts are 2-6 against the Titans since Pat McAfee came up here and did his wrestling announcement. And the Jacksonville Jaguars, they haven't had back-to-back winning seasons since I was a senior in high school.
What's up, Titans fans, and welcome to another edition of Titans Global Podcast. I'm your host, Maximus Titan Fan, and it looks like I'm doing it solo tonight, but that's okay. We're talking about draft, pre-draft, actually. This is our last show before pre-draft. We actually just came back for the pre-draft show. All right, before I talk any more about pre-draft, let's just get to it, man. So I come up with a couple different scenarios for our draft picks. I came up with 3 different scenarios. If you follow me on social media, you've probably already seen those scenarios. If you haven't, then you should follow me closer. First, I'm going to go over the player rankings and my personal player rankings, and then we'll go on from there. Start off quarterback Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jalen Daniels. I think all those are pretty uniform, 1, 2, 3. Some people, I guess, say J.J. McCarthy a number 3, but personally for me, he's number 4. Michael Penix, and then Bo Nix on the end there. See, only in the top 100, by the way. Wide receiver, Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, which a lot of people have Malik Neighbors as number 1. Just because of the body, I'm giving it to Marvin Harrison Jr. Other than that, yeah, Malik Neighbors is just as good. Roma Dunze after that, then Brian Thomas Jr., Donnie Mitchell, Troy Franklin, Ladd McConkey, Roman Wilson, Ricky Pearsall, and then Xavier Leggett. I put Xavier Leggett at the bottom just because after watching a bunch of his tape, there's something to be left there. He leaves a lot on the field sometimes. I don't know if he's going to make the transition really well. I don't know. I'm not a draft guy. I'll be honest with you guys. Usually I do like 2 days worth of homework for a show. And this one I spent already 4 or 5 days on, and I still don't have enough information compiled, but it's a ridiculous amount of information that I have compiled. It just hats off to all those guys that do this like all the time and just talk about draft, like Cortland Griffin or Jake Robertson. A lot of these guys are, this is just what they do. It's their bread and butter, and I couldn't do this all the time. That's way too much studying for me. So anyway, we'll move on to the tackles. Tackles and guards for me are kind of mixed up. As far as that goes, I'm not doing an inside interior offensive lineman like most people do. They just all group them together. So I just all group them together as tackles, basically. But Joe Alt, Talise Fuaga, Troy Fatanu. Why do they have to have such crazy names? Excuse me, I'm sorry. Joe Alt, then Fashanu, then Fuaga, then Fatanu, then J.C. Latham, Amarius Mims, Graham Barton, and Tyler Guyton. As far as edge goes, and just to be clear about the tackle position, because a lot of people are saying that there's it's not that much different to get Joe Alt. So basically what that is the difference is his body. I mean, he might have the same physical physical skills as another offensive lineman, but oh sweet, what's up, dude, from Brazil? That's awesome. But you also have to put into fact that the dude is 6'7". He has a crazy wingspan. So he's going to hit you faster and harder than most people are just because of his stature. So if he has the same skills as someone with a 6'2" stature, let's say, instead of 6'7", he's going to be better. I mean, he's got the longer arms, he's got the better. I mean, he's very good. And that's the difference right there. That's the difference between good and great. Anyway, got off track a little bit there. As far as edge goes, there's a lot in the top 100. I don't really agree that there would be that many. I agree. Patrick Paul would be great. Fuaga would be great. Fatanu would be great. I don't mean great. I mean great as a pick for us. We don't necessarily have to have Alt if he's not there at at 7 and we trade down, then we could pick up one of these other guards and still be good. It's not like we have to have Alt. I put a lot of faith in the fact that we have one of the best offensive lineman coaches in Bill Callahan. And I believe in that just because I watched it for many years here with Mike Munchak. All you old school Titans fans know what I'm talking about, because Munchie, it didn't matter if you needed to take that next step, he was able to help you elevate yourself to that. He took good tackles, made them great. Offensive linemen, I should say, not just tackles. But we did have great tackles the entire time he was here. So, but anyway, edge rushers, Dallas Turner, Jared Verse, Latu, I think that's how you say his name. Chris Braswell, Darius Robinson, Chop Robinson. All right, that's very important. The list that I just read off to you. That's my favor right there. That's who I would rather have. But Chop Robinson and Darius Robinson really should be at the top of that list. I don't know why I did it that way. I messed that up, but point is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's like 5 tackles in front of Chris Braswell, or edge defenders in front of Chris Braswell. And one of my scenarios has us drafting him as an edge defender. And I got a lot of flack for that online. And I was like, well, there wasn't it. He was the best edge defender at the time at the pick. So that's why I took him. Anyway, got off topic again. Tight ends. Obviously, there's one that stands out above the rest. I think everybody knows, but a lot of people are talking about us drafting him. And I don't know how many times we have to have this discussion, but Bowers is a luxury pick. You take Bowers if you already have great wide receivers and offensive linemen intact, and you just need to add a little bit of spice to your offense. That's when you draft the tight end. I know he's special. I know he's a playmaker, but you just cannot take a tight end at 7. That's insane. Maybe in the mid first round, like 15. A lot of people are talking about him going to the Colts. Actually, if you watched around the AFC South, or touring the AFC South, excuse me, with Mike Patton, if you don't watch it, you should watch it because it's a good show and he puts out a lot of good information. You can also follow him online on Twitter. A little shout out to Mike. But he had a great little piece about Brock Bowers going to Indy. And I really could see that happening. That's a perfect area for him to be drafted. I don't know if he's a perfect fit with Indy as far as their scheme goes and all that. I haven't really looked that much. I mean, I have a little bit, but not that much into Indy. So, and we still don't know some things about their offense. But point is, that's where I see him going, not at 7, 15, somewhere around in there. If we don't get Alt, we better get a good wide receiver. Anyway, Jatavian Sanders is the only other tight end that was listed in the top 100. By the way, all this is ranked of the top 100. I took PFF Fox and the NFL ratings for the top 100 players, threw them in a pool, averaged it out, took my rankings, and that's what this is. So this is what you're hearing is the rankings of my top 100 players, I guess, from those three averaged out. That makes any sense. Like I said, it took a lot of time to do this. It's a ridiculous amount of studying. Cooper DeJean, Taron Arnold, cornerbacks, defensive backs. Cooper DeJean, Taron Arnold, Nate Wiggins, Kamari Lassiter, Kool-Aid McKinstry, I think it's how you say his name. See how far down the list I put him? I just don't have much faith in cornerbacks. It's like quarterbacks. Quarterbacks and cornerbacks from Alabama, I just don't have much faith in. Anyway, Enos Rakestraw Jr., I think is how Rakestraw Jr. I don't know, man. These are some crazy names. Kyrie Jackson, and Mike Sanistil. I don't know, man. I'm not great with names. I'm sorry. I'm going to fumble on a lot of these tonight. Just bear with me. Although I don't think cornerback is really a big deal for us in the top 100 unless we got a third round pick and then we decide to go there. But cornerback really isn't where we're hurting since we got, McCreary, who falls over from last year, probably going to play the slot with Awuzie and Sneed on the outside. That's going to look sweet. Hooker could use some help from, maybe Tyler Nubin or Javon Bullard. Yep, Javon Bullard. I don't know. I don't think we draft a defensive player in the first 100. I just don't see it. If we draft a defensive player, I think he'll come fourth or later. Even if we trade down for picks and we get extra picks, unless we get an extra third round or something like we get 2 third-round picks, which I don't think that, not this year anyway. Anyway, I digress. As far as centers go, I did pick them out of the bunch of the offensive linemen. There's only really 2 in the 100, and that's Jackson Powers Johnson, which is just a freak of nature, and I think he's going to go in the first round, which is nuts to think about a center going in the first round, but he is really electric player. And Zach Frazier, which, I don't really know that much about him, to be honest, because we don't need a center. We got Cush, so I didn't really pay that much attention to centers. Defensive linemen. This one was a big for me. Byron Murphy II. Oh, man. Jerzon Newton? Jerzon? I don't know how you say that. Braden Fisk and Rook or Ruhu. I don't know how you say that either. Notice Tavon Sweat isn't on there. That's because I wouldn't draft him in the first 100. It's just my perspective of things. It's really bad timing as far as the DUI thing goes. It's really bad timing. But that's a game we play. He took the risk, and now he's paying the price, or what I would call the price, which is sliding down the board heavily. All right. So anyway, 3 basic scenarios. So we got 3 scenarios for the Titans to draft. Scenario A, we stay at 7 and 38, don't trade down, and we just pick straight like we would, but Joe Alt's available. So we take Joe Alt because that is my number 1 choice. If I get my pick, I'm taking Joe Alt. I'm shoring up the left side with him and Skoronski for the future, for Will Levis, and I'll roll the dice on a second round wide receiver. And on that second round wide receiver, I ended up taking Ladd McConkey. Now, in 2 different scenarios, I draft Ladd McConkey. And a lot of people were like, what's up with your obsession with Ladd McConkey? Now, I am a Georgia fan, so there's that. But literally none of the other wide receivers I named on my top 100 was even on the list other than Ladd McConkey and Ricky Pearsall. And personally, I would rather have Lad McConkey than Ricky Pearsall. Some people might argue that with me. Hey, that's cool, but this is what I think. He's a technician in his route running, and to me, that is a number one. And he does fight for the ball well, hand fighting. So in scenario A, we draft Joe Alt and we take Lad McConkey in the third round or in the second round, 38. In that scenario, it's quarterback, Williams, May, Daniels, Marie, MHJ. I'm just going to call him that because I'm going to fumble names. Malik Neighbors, JJ McCarthy to the Giants, and then Joe Alt. I thought it was weird that they have the Giants taking a quarterback, which I get. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they're fine at quarterback. I'm just saying it shocked me that they took a quarterback. In a lot of different draft models, they take a quarterback. And I find that very interesting. I could see them taking the tackle or trading down. I think they're a great trade down prospect, which kills me. But we'll talk about that later. Draft scenario 2, we draft Malik Neighbors. And in that scenario, the Giants took Joe Alt, which is one of the major picks I think they might actually make. A lot of people are saying they go to the Chargers. I honestly think the Giants are one of the best places for the number one spot for him to land. I think it's the Chargers. The Giants. I think the Chargers are going to go with a big name wide receiver like Malik Neighbors, Roma Dunze, one of those. I don't think they're going with an offensive line. I could be wrong. Again, this is all, my personal thoughts after doing a bajillion simulated drafts on lots of websites. There's lots of those, man. Yeah, I'm not hang on for scenario 3, man. Yeah, you're on point kind of. But hang on. So, scenario 2, we draft Malik Neighbors in the first round, and we pick up Patrick Paul at 38. He was available. I snagged him. Actually, I think there might have been another tackle available. It might have been Latham, and I just took him instead because I like Patrick Paul, even though he's not in that list for some stupid reason. I got the rankings all messed up. But the third scenario has us trading down. Now, the way I did this was I tried to be as fair as possible. So I took one from each draft place. That the top 3, I think it was draft.com. I should have wrote those down. Point is, I went to the 3 major ones, did a 2-round draft. This is what I came up with. So in the third round, I traded down with the Raiders. And I traded pick number 17 for 13 and 44. At pick 13, I took Troy Fontuanu. I don't know how you say his name, dang it. And in the second round, again, I took Lad McConkey. I know. But he was the best wide receiver available in the second round. And like I've said before, I really don't think the Titans are going to take a defensive player in the first 2 rounds. I just don't see it. Yeah, I mean the kid from Washington. Are you talking about what is his name? I like him too. Devontae Walker. I think no, that's North Carolina. See, I'm not good with this college stuff. I watch some college ball. Usually it's UT or Georgia because I'm a Georgia fan and I live near Knoxville. So usually those are my 2 that I watch. But if there's a game on, I'll watch it. So I like any kind of football. I watch UFL and coach little kids. I just love football. But the point is I just don't watch a lot of college ball. So when I go into this, I kind of go into it blind. I look at like the top 100, top 150. I start watching tape on them. I only go so deep. You know what I mean? And I can only watch so many hours of film before I just burn out. of just, and I get confused too because you watch some tape and you get kind of messed up on which receiver that was or what. But anyway, I'm getting way off key. So in the second round, I didn't take pick 44. I traded with Dallas down to 56, but I also got pick 87 and I got a third round 2025 pick out of it. At pick 56, I ended up taking Chris Braswell. And the reason I said that to pay attention to that is because that was the best edge at the moment in the third round. And the reason I took him is because he's a high motor. If you watch his tape, he's a high motor guy. He never gives up. He's a hand fighter. And a lot of times he's got the quickness and the bend to get around the tackle. But if he doesn't, then like I said, he's a hand fighter and he's got a high motor. He never stops. And since we've got such a great defensive back now, or well, should be, it's good on paper, but since our defensive backs should be better, they can hold the defense better, which takes the quarterback a second longer to get rid of the ball, which gives those guys a little bit more time. So if you got a guy that never gives up, like I can throw out a guy, it's just a name, but Kyle Vanden Bosch comes to mind. He never gave up on a play. High motor guy. Every single snap, he was giving you 110%. And a lot of times, he'd get in the backfield. He wasn't like, your 15 sack guy every season. But I think he did have a high of like 12 sacks or something like that. But he was a great football player, especially for the Titans. And like I said, he was a high motor dude. And if you gave him just a smidgen of time, he would get in the backfield eventually. So there's my three scenarios. Which one would you rather have, A, B, or C? A, we take Alt and Ladd McConkey, or you just throw out random tackle, random wide receiver, or B, random wide receiver, random tackle in the second round, or C, trade down for extra picks. And I think a lot of the old school Titans fans are in favor of trading down for extra picks because, we got a lot of holes, folks. But I don't think we're looking for an overnight fix either. So that's why I say we can just draft straight up if we want to, or we can trade out if we want to, or if it presents itself. Some big time partners or trade people that I think could, potentially happen with Minnesota. I think could trade up for a quarterback. I know they don't necessarily need one right this second, but kind of do. But they have 2 first-round picks, so they're, the Cardinals also have 2 first-round picks, but they pick ahead of us first. So, but their ones I think might actually take quarterback. I think it might be. I think it might actually go quarterback, 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 then trade out. The Giants trade down, and whoever hits that slot hits another quarterback. It could actually. You could actually see 5 quarterbacks all the way down to Michael Penix taken within the first 5 picks. I don't think it's really going to happen, but it could. And if Marie, however far Marvin Harrison Jr. falls, wherever he falls to, I can't imagine that the Chargers or the Giants could pass up on that. I just can't imagine it. So I really feel like Joe Alt has a very good chance of being there. He also has a very good chance of not being there. It just really depends mostly on how many quarterbacks are drafted. If it's 3, like most people are projecting, just 1, 2, 3, maybe not. It's really a 50-50 flip of the coin, especially if the Giants trade down, because everybody has projected us to take Joe Alt. So if somebody really wants Joe Alt, they're going to trade up in the Giant spot and take it. So, that's just It's just smart. So, everybody's going to be looking at that spot. So I don't know if Joe Alt will be there. And if he's not there, then that means one of the good wide receivers will be there. One of my top 4 wide receivers is going to be there. Either MHJ, Malik Neighbors, Roma Dunze, or top one of the top 3 is going to be there. I'll say that. I am going to be shocked if Roma Dunze is drafted before number 7. I will be shocked. I won't be shocked if we trade down instead of picking him or some of these other people that I'm talking about. If Joe Alt's still there and we still trade down, I'm not upset. I mean, this is the first time I've actually went into a draft and said, we've got we really have a need at 2 or 3 big positions. But realistically, we have a good need at like 5 different positions. So, I mean, if we're looking down the road, we have good receivers right now, but they're 30 and 31 respectively. So I don't want to, you know what I mean? I really feel like since we're this high, we need to get a talented wide receiver or tackle. We still could get a talented wide receiver in the second, but we have to get one of those. If we don't, we need to trade down. If not, it's a mess. It's going to be a mess. If we draft anybody except a wide receiver or a tackle in the first round at number 7, I won't know what to think about Rand. And that's another thing. Rand has done such a good job. He's done such a good job over the last 2 free agent sessions and the last draft. If you look at the last draft, our first 3 draft picks were major contributors to our season. You might get lucky and have your first 2 hit, but to have your first 3 hit on your first draft, and you're drafting a guy from Tulane that nobody thought should be a 3rd round draft pick. Come on, man. You got to give him a little bit of props there, dude. So I'm going to try not to be reactionary on the draft because it's hard, to take this stuff at face value. Honestly, I was upset at the 2nd and the 3rd round pick. I'm not going to lie. I wasn't happy with Will Levis. Like I said, I'm a Georgia fan and I live near Knoxville. So SEC is like my backyard. I watched a lot of Will Levis's games and I wasn't really happy. But then when I really thought about the roster that he had around him and the talentless roster that he had around him, I was like, I don't know, man. Give him some actual talent. Dude might be able to do something. He's got the arm, and sure enough, he sure did, man. So I'm a believer in that one. And Tajay Spears proved me wrong too. I wasn't very high on that one until I watched his film. See, I hadn't watched any film on Tajay Spears because, again, I don't go that deep. But when I did, holy mackerel, man, I could see the dog come out in that dude, man. And that was before he ever took a snap from the Titans. I was excited to see what he had to offer because he was a dual threat back, something we hadn't had in a long time. Not a good one anyway. But yeah, Hugo, I totally agree. I think, the more picks we can, the better. Again, really don't know if we go for defense in the 2nd round, but hey, I'm down with, them getting more picks. And if Rand picks a defensive guy in the 2nd round, then that was the best guy for our team, I believe, at least until he proves me wrong. He might prove me wrong, by having a crappy draft, but until he does, I'm going to believe that he's going to draft good like he has in the past, the one time he has in the past. I'm going to believe that he's going to do good in free agency because he has in the past. Y'all forget. DeAndre Hopkins was signed after the draft. So, let's just sit back and let Rand cook, man. That's exactly what everybody's saying online. That is a perfect analogy for it. Just let him do his thing. He's doing something great, man. Just let him do it. So that's pretty much going to wrap up my show for this evening. I really hope you guys join me for the draft. I'm going to be live streaming the first round on Thursday night. Hopefully, I'll have Link with me. If not, it'll be me and myself and I and you guys. Hopefully, you guys are watching me. If you can, go to our YouTube channel, like and subscribe. Subscribing to our YouTube channel, that YouTube channel is the best way to help us out. If you actually like what we do and like what we bring, uh, that's the best way to show us that you like it, is to go on there, subscribe on YouTube, and watch us on YouTube. If not, man, thanks for watching us wherever you're watching us. We appreciate all. And let's see, we should take it through Dave Pickett. Dude, come on, man. You know what's terrible about them signing Andre Dillard? My father-in-law's team, his favorite team is the Packers. The day they did that, I called him. I said, "Man, I'm sorry." He said, "What are you talking about?" And I said, Andre Dillard." He's like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "The Packers signed Andre Dillard, man. Or what's his name's gonna be running for his life. Love ain't gonna. I mean, he ain't gonna have a chance." I feel bad for him, but anyway, yeah, like I said, if you can, like and subscribe our YouTube page, follow us, check us out anywhere you find your social media, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, we're everywhere. Instagram, Titans Global Podcast. If you want to follow me personally, it's Maximus Titan Fan on YouTube and YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. I am messing this all up. Thank you for joining us tonight. Like I said, Thursday night draft special. You'll see more posts about it. Thank you for joining me tonight. Y'all have a great night. Tighten up. Peace out.